Thank you. Rita, are you going to the mic? No. Okay. So thank you, Axel. Next will be the ASO updates by Alan Barrett. So the ASO review and develop recommendations on IP address policy and advise the ICANN board. 15 volunteers free from each of the 5 ORR communities serve on the ASO AC. So from AFRINIC region, we have Alan Barrett appointed by the board, Fiona Songa, and Douglas Oyongo, who's elected by the committee. Let me remind you that the seat of Douglas is actually for election this afternoon. You will have all further information with EB, and I'll leave the floor to Alan Barrett.
Okay, good morning, everybody. As Vimal has just told you, I am appointed by the AFRINIC board to the ASO-AC, also known as the NRO-NC. And hello, when I click this, nothing happens. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to start off by trying to tell you what all these letters stand for. Then I'll say what the tasks of the ASO-AC are. I've got a list of members, but I won't go through that. And then I'll tell you about what we've been doing in terms of appointments to various ICANN bodies and global policies. Okay, so there are so many acronyms, I divided them onto 2 pages. This is just the ICANN-related stuff. I'm sure you've heard of ICANN. It's an international organization that performs the IANA function. IANA is the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. It's responsible for global coordination of several technical things around the Internet. The root of the domain name system, including delegation of top-level domains, IP addresses, not allocating them to individuals, but allocating them to regions, autonomous system numbers at much the same level of detail, allocating them to regions, and also the port numbers and other protocol parameters that are used in the software and the protocols that we use when we're using the internet. Okay, so ICANN has several supporting organizations for different aspects of its jobs, and the ASO is the address supporting organization. It's the part of ICANN that deals with the numbers that we use on the internet, IP addresses and autonomous system numbers, basically. Within the ASO, there's an address council called the ASO-AC, and its job is to advise ICANN on number resource policies, to process global policies dealing with IP numbers, and there's a website, aso.icann.org. Okay, then on the regional internet registry side, we also have a bunch of acronyms. I'm sure you know that an RIR is a regional address registry. We have 5 of them around the world. AFRINIC is where we are now, and in other regions we have APNIC, ARIN, the RIPE NCC, and LACNIC. Now the RIRs allocate IP addresses and AS numbers within their region, and also they develop policies around that. The 5 RIRs got together and formed the Number Resource Organization, or the NRO, and its task is to represent the 5 RIRs in places where it's good for them to be able to speak with one voice, and also to protect the interests of the RIRs. The NRO has an executive council, which is basically the CEOs of all 5 RIRs working together as the executive council. It also has a numbers council. The NRO-NC is the NRO Numbers Council, and it's a small committee who is given the job of reviewing global policies for IP address management. See, we have regional policies within each RIR, but we also have global policies where all 5 RIRs together have the same policy, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that later. Okay, there's a website, www.nro.net, and if you click around, I'm sure you'll find information about the Number Council. All right, so now, you've heard about the NRO-NC and you've heard about the ASO-AC. Actually, they're basically the same thing. The ASO is where the RIR system and the ICANN system meet each other. There's a memorandum of understanding between ICANN and the NRO. It was signed in 2004, and it basically says that the NRO, which is formed by the RIRs, will fulfill all the roles and responsibilities and functions of the ASO. When ICANN was formed, the founding documents of ICANN specified that it would have a thing called the ASO, and this memorandum of understanding says, okay, the NRO is going to do that job. Also, the NRO Numbers Council fulfills the role, responsibility, and functions of the ASO Address Council. All right, so on the ICANN side, we've got the ASO. On the Regional Internet Registry side, we've got the NRO. But there's this MOU which says the two are kind of the same. So when the members are elected or appointed to the NRO Numbers Council, those same members also simultaneously serve as the ICANN ASO Address Council. There are 15 members, 3 from each of the 5 regions, and of those 3, 2 of them are elected by the community and 1 is appointed by the board. Usually they serve 3-year terms, but different RIRs may have their own ways of doing things. There's a list of the members. I'm not going to read them all. You've already heard that in the AFRINIC region, it's Fiona Songa and Douglas Onyango, elected by the community, and me, Alan Barrett, appointed by the board. I also happen to be the vice chair this year, and Louis Lee is the chair. The tasks of the ASO-ASC are specified in the MOU, and also in some of the other ICANN documents. It's responsible for appointing 2 of the ICANN directors, and these 2 are called Seat 9 and Seat 10. These directors serve 3-year terms, and they're staggered. They don't both start or end in the same year. Also, there are other ICANN bodies where the ASO-ASC may appoint members. So there's the NOMCOM and review teams, and now there's the IANA transition. We're involved with all that. Then global policy proposals. There's a role that the ASO-ASC fulfills after a global policy has been through all 5 RIRs. Before it goes to the ICANN board, it goes through the ASO-ASC. And the ICANN board can ask for advice, and the IANA can also ask for advice on anything related to number resources. Okay, so the board of directors, currently Ray Pilzak and Kuwei Wu are appointed by the ASO-ASC. They're both serving their 2nd term. Ray's position ends in October 2015. That's about a year from now, just after the 2nd ICANN meeting of the year. Or was it the 3rd? The 3rd ICANN meeting of the year. So we have to reappoint somebody to Seat 9. The process has just started. Here's the timetable. Nomination phase began about a week ago. It goes on until the end of December. Then there's 3 months for comments. There'll be interviews. The interview phase is further subdivided. We have telephone interviews and face-to-face interviews. Then the ASO-AC is expected to make a decision by the 17th of April next year. Then there's a due diligence review where ICANN has some process for checking that the selected person doesn't have too many skeletons in their closet. And then we expect the announcement to be made no later than the 1st of June, and the person will take office in August 2015. There's a web page where you can read about the election timeline. All right, appointments to other bodies. We've appointed Hans-Peter Hurlen from the RIPE region to the ICANN nomination committee. And the NOMCOM is responsible for appointing people to various other parts of ICANN. It appoints some of the ICANN directors, some of the people on some of the other ICANN support organizations and committees of various types. If you look on the table outside, you'll find a pamphlet from the NOMCOM with a list of about 10 positions that they're trying to fill this year. We've appointed Fiona Songa to the Accountability and Transparency Review Team. The number 2 there is because there was another one a few years ago, but this is the second time that they've had an ATRT. So they're reviewing some parts of ICANN to make sure that there's sufficient accountability mechanisms. There's an IANA Oversight Transition Coordination Group, called the TCG, and that's looking at the way we transition from having the US government with an oversight role to not having the US government with an oversight role. The ASO-ASC was asked by the EC to put forward some names, and the EC chose Hartmut Glasser as the appointee to the TCG. There's a cross-community working group on accountability. The work of that group hasn't really started yet, except that a charter has been drafted. The ASO-ASC appointed 2 people to the drafting committee, Izumi Okutani from JPNIC in Japan, and Athena Fragkuli from the RIPE NCC. Okay, so the next step there is that we're waiting for the charter to be approved by all the ICANN support organizations and some of the advisory committees, and then appointments to the working group will be made, and then it's going to do its work. Some complicated process. Okay, global policy proposals are the last thing that I need to talk about here. A global policy is something that's been through all 5 RIRs. They all agree on what it should say, and it requires some kind of action by an ICANN body, usually by the IANA. So typically a global policy proposal will say how IANA has to deal with allocating large blocks of IP numbers or large blocks of AS numbers to RIRs. That's typically what they say. It doesn't have to be that, but the proposals go through each region following their own policy development process. If there are differences, then those get harmonized. Then the NRO-NC or the ASO-AC reviews it, passes it on to the ICANN board, which ratifies it, and finally it can be implemented. At the moment, there are no global policy proposals on the table, but if there are, then the ASO-AC will have to get involved. If you need more information, here are 2 websites for the 2 aspects of the same organization. On the ICANN side, you can look at aso.icann.org, and on the NRO side, www.nro.net, and you can click there for links to the Address Council. Okay, so thank you to the NRO for funding and for the Executive Council for ongoing support and guidance. And the Secretariat does a lot of very useful work for us. This year, the RIPE NCC provides the Secretariat function, and Herman Valdez is the permanent Executive Secretary. He also does lots of work, taking the minutes, organizing the meetings, reminding us what we should be doing, remembering what all the different bylaws and things say. Okay, I think that's the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Just to remind you that AFRINIC, Adela Plogan was the chair of the NRO for this year. And also regarding the election, if you want some information on the candidates that are running for the seat of Douglas, you will have all the information on the AFRINIC website under ASO-AC election. So next, I'll leave the floor to Elise to give us the update of IANA.
Good morning. As it says on the slide, I'm Elise Garrick. I'm the Vice President of IANA at ICANN. And this is the set of topics that I'm going to address this morning. It probably will be a fairly fast presentation. So what I wanted to do was introduce you to some new faces in the IANA department. As you can see, there are 13 of us in the IANA department at ICANN. And on the bottom row, you'll see Andreas, Punky, and Marilia. And those 3 people have joined us in the last 6 months. Both Andreas Pavez from Chile and Punky Duero from the Philippines are cryptographic key managers. And Marilia Hirano from Brazil is our continuous improvement manager. So these are the folks. You probably know many of the other faces on here. And I want to note that Leo Vagoda, who's worked very closely with all the RIRs, and AFRINIC is obviously one of the places he's visited often, has taken on new corporate responsibilities within ICANN. He's going to be leading corporate business excellence activities for the ICANN organization. So for 3 years running, we've had customer satisfaction surveys. On the first year, we ran it ourselves from internal of the IANA department. And the next year, we hired an outside vendor, Ubiquity, to do the survey for us so that it would be anonymous responses and that they would do the evaluation and then we could just do the report. This year, we used Ubiquity again. And as you can see, we sent out 4,400 surveys. We had about 11% response rate, which we were happy with. Most of the satisfaction rates for the various terms on the survey were trending upward, and we'll be preparing and publish a full report probably by the end of December. The overall satisfaction rate for all the IANA services was about 93%, and we thank those of you from the region who responded for giving us good marks. Number allocations, that's one of the things we do for the regional internet registries. And actually number allocations are one of the smallest functions that the IANA department does. They're in numbers. The largest number of requests we get are from the protocol parameters area. And it's the protocol parameters area which actually take the longest time to resolve the requests because they're expert reviews, there's working with the drafts, seeing what the IANA considerations, and if you all have looked at the IETF website, you know there's thousands of RFCs and thousands of drafts, and each new one has IANA considerations that have to be taken care of. But for the RIRs, we had 3 autonomous system number allocations in 2014. 2 went to RIPE, and 1 went to LACNIC. It was the allocation to LACNIC that caused the IANA department to come back to the ASO and ask for clarification, because the policy had said that you had to have below 50% in order to get a new allocation. And LACNIC was being very aggressive in handing out 32-bit AS numbers, and so all they had left were 16-bit, and they wanted to get more 32-bit, even though they didn't have below 50%. So we had clarification that we could now give mixed blocks of AS numbers. You could get partially some 16-bit and some 32-bit if you requested that, because otherwise you were forced to continue to just get 16-bit and only give out 16-bit. I hope that was clear. It may have sounded muddled. The other allocations we've given out in 2014 have to do with the IPv4 allocation policy from the returned pool. And we give out those allocations, well, we gave out allocations on September 1st, /12, which is around 1 million addresses. You can see the ranges that were distributed. These are scheduled allocations based on the policy from the recovered pool. The IANA department gives out an allocation on March 1st and September 1st, regardless of the size of the pool. And as you saw on September 1st, we gave out a /12, about 1 million addresses. The next allocation will be in March, based on the formula. Given what we have in the pool right now, that'll probably be about 500,000 addresses, a /13. And we don't do this manually. And if you can see from the slide, there's a link. You can pull up the program that's been written based on the formula to allocate these. The formula runs automatically on the 1st of the September and 1st of March, and the RIRs will receive those allocations as planned until the pool is empty. So one of the things that's come up over the last 2 days are SLAs, service level agreements. We call them KPIs, key performance indicators. Back in November of 2012, the IANA department put out a consultation, a public consultation, and we asked for input from all the communities, particularly from the regional internet registry community, asking, okay, what are the key performance indicators that you wanted us to report to you on? They were accuracy, timeliness, and transparency. And there were metrics assigned to those, and we report on them. Those reports can be found on iana.org/performance, and you can see the consultation and the results in the report of the consultation that was the source of how we came up with those policies, or excuse me, performance indicators. Route management is one of the key things that the IANA department does, and we started introducing new GTLDs into the route zone in what year are we in? 2014? And actually 2012, I think it was. 2014 is now, 2013 is when we did it, October 2013. So we've introduced 446 GTLDs into the route zone. 38 of those are international domain names, which means that they're in scripts other than Latin scripts. And you can also find a whole list of those and the ones that get allocated every month in the monthly reports that we publish. This gives you an indication, it's a monthly snapshot of the average processing time for the route zone changes. As you can see, it's broken down by type of change, name servers, DNSSEC records, changes in contacts. Metadata changes are things where people ask us to put notes related to their TLD. And so these are included in the data that we maintain. Delegation and redelegations, and then route server operator updates. Another part of this function that we do for the route zone is to DNS sign the route zone. And we have some trusted community representatives who act as cryptographic officers for each of these ceremonies. There's 4 ceremonies a year. There are 2 cryptographic officers from this part of the world. SM and Alain are both cryptographic key officers, and we thank them very much for their service to the community and participating in these ceremonies. The last one was just done a week ago, and the next one will be in January. If there are any questions, I would like to say that I've enjoyed the 4.5 years I've been at the IANA department and working with Adiel. My first introduction to him was when I got to hand out the last /8 to AFRINIC, and I will sorely miss working with him, but I know that he'll be around in the community and he's left AFRINIC in good shape. Good luck, Adiel.
Thank you, Elise. So I will take the question for Elise and Alan. Sean.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is to Alan. If you can bring back the slide. I don't know what TIG is. Can you explain what that is all about in the IANA transition process? Also, you mentioned that what ASO does is that it assures the ICANN board. Does it in any way also ensure that the ICANN board actually follows the processes? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to answer that. The TCG, Transition Coordination Group, it's a committee that was formed within ICANN to look at all the issues around the transition from the current situation where the US Department of Commerce, the NTIA, has oversight of ICANN. So transition from that to the new state where they won't. So it's going to be, you know...
Sorry, how does this differ from ICG? Or do you mean ICG?
What's ICG?
Stewardship Coordination Group.
I think it's ICG.
That's the one that's led by Alyssa Diel's and Paul Wilson's.
Okay, right. The ICG is different from the TCG, and it's the NRO has some representation on the ICG, but the ASO-AC does not. So my presentation was focused solely on what the ASO-AC has done, not what other parts of the NRO might have done. Yeah, let Adele take this.
Yes, I think on the ICG, the ASO has appointed Armand Glasser is on the ICG for the ASO-AC. In the ICG, we have one representative from the ASO and two representatives from the NRO. Armand is from the ASO side, and myself and Paul Wilson are from the NRO side.
Okay, I'm sorry, I get confused by all these different groups, and when I went through the minutes trying to prepare this presentation, I obviously missed that one. Sorry.
Any other question? Okay.
Okay, yeah, to answer the second half of Sean's question, does the ASO assure that the board or this does what they're supposed to do? There is a process for that. The board is supposed to ratify policies within a certain time. And so if the board doesn't like a global policy, they can refer it back to the ASO-AC. But I don't think there's a formal way for us to do something if the board doesn't want to ratify a policy. Maybe Elise has something to say about that? No?
I just was kind of asking, what kind of action did you expect the ASO to do? Was it just to track that it's ratified or not ratified? Because the board doesn't implement the policy. The IANA department implements whatever gets ratified, and we work with the regional internet registries to make sure the implementation meets their requirements.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe if the board approves policy, that means that they've done their part actually. I'm just worried about the fact that ASO is actually assuring to ICANN board. It looks like ASO is responsible to the ICANN board and not actually responsible to the community. That's just what I want to clarify.
Okay, so we don't have the power to fire the ICANN board or anything
we'd like you to assure us, the community.
Right. Okay, so in a way we do. There's a website where if there's a global policy proposal being processed, then there'll be a website where you can see the status. And if you see that the status is that it's been passed by all the RIRs and it's been passed on to the board, but the board has done nothing, you'll be able to see a website where that status is reported. But we've never had to do more than that. We don't expect the board to fail in their duty.
It is okay? Sean? Thank you, Alan. So we'll continue with the NRO update, which Adil will give you.
Thank you, Vimala, and I would like to apologize for not joining earlier this session. I was supposed to start. I was stuck in another meeting. Sorry. So I will quickly take you through the NRO update, and mainly, if you have noticed in Alan's presentation, he talked about the fact that the NRO is the ASO. So in fact, we have a dual personality in real. We have the ASO, which is the part of us which is within the ICANN framework, and we have, as RIR, we work together through the NRO, where we do things that are or may not be related to what ICANN does. So the NRO is formed by the 5 RIR to be the flagship and the global leader for collaborative internet number resource management as central element of an open and stable and secure internet. In short, yeah, we want to use our experience as RIR to showcase how the system works, and also being able to allow outsiders to have a single point of entry. So the NRO was formed in 2003. It is not an incorporated organization. We work and collaborate through the NRO. And last year we had a retreat within the NRO to redefine some of our key founding principles, redefining our vision and our mission, etc. So that is the mission that has been agreed on by all 5 of us as the mission of the NRO. Our focus area, 1, is to support the area coordination. 2, to support global collaboration and governance coordination among the 5 of us. To properly brand and reposition the NRO in its mission, allow people to really understand what the NRO is, and brand it as a vehicle of collaboration between the 5 areas. And also to monitor and contribute to the global internet governance discussions. These are some of our key focus areas, and that's why you will notice that these past year or so, the NRO has been very active on several fronts on public affairs, and address here who is part of the public affair coordination group can tell you more about that. How do we function? We function through an executive council, an executive committee, and a different coordination group. And the executive committee is made of the CEO of the 5 RIR, and we take up official position in a round-robin manner where every year the chair, the secretary, and the treasury change across the different areas. So this year I'm the chair of the NRO, Axel is the secretary, and Raul, not Raul anymore, but Ernesto is the treasurer. And next year that will move up, Axel will become the chair, Lachnik, Ernesto will become the secretary, and Paul will become the treasurer. So it's move like that every year. We have most of the technical infrastructure hosted by RIPE-NCC of the NRO. And last year we have also recruited a permanent executive secretariat to provide support to the coordination group and to the NRO EC. Herman Valdez is the executive secretary of the NRO project. ASO and the NRO, well, there is an MOU between the NRO and ICANN that define or clarify the fact that the ASO is the NRO in fact. And that's why in the ICANN bylaw, you will see that statement clearly there and give the NRO now all the latitude to do things related to the ASO, like the funding. The RAR together we fund most of the ASO activities, contrary to the other constituency within ICANN. I won't talk about the ASO because Alan has talked lengthily about that. So the AC of the ASO, which is also the NC in the NRO, name number council, is made a representative from the 5 area, 3 from each of them. So for AFRINIC, we are represented in the ASO AC, NRO, NC by Fiona, Alan, and Douglas. They are all at this meeting. So if you want to interact more and learn more about the work of the ASO, feel free to talk to them. NRO finance, our finances and our expenses mainly are about staff costs. As I mentioned, we recruited a permanent executive secretary last year. Travel for the ASO, AC, and the executive secretariat, communication and outreach, and contribution to ICANN. Those are the key elements of our budget. So our internal operation budget last year was around $400,000, but that does not include our contribution to ICANN, which is $823,000 per year, and that is a fixed amount that we pay. The budget of the NRO is in fact shared among the 5 areas based on a specific formula, and the formula is itself based on our registration service activities. We participate in several activities related to the internet governance, and one of them is the IGF. We actively support the MAG. We have 2 representatives on the MAG that has been updated now. We have a new member in the MAG, Herman Valdez, who is the secretary of the NRO, has been appointed, and the second one is, we don't, okay, so now we have only one. We have participated in the IGF last year, and this year as well, we are actively involved we have been involved with the IGF this year. Some correspondence with IANA and other organizations, and we have also actively participated in the past plenipotentiary meeting in Busan, where the PACG has done a very wonderful job there, coordinating the view from the ISTAR, meaning the Internet Technical Community organization, but also among the 5 areas. So that has been very positive, and all the feedback we got, even from the ITU representative there, was great, and they have really appreciated the contribution of the technical community in the proceeding of the plenipotentiary meeting. Other development, we are going to have an NRO EC retreat next week, Monday and Tuesday here in Mauritius. So all the other area CEOs are on their way here to Mauritius. We have the RPKI project that we are coordinating within the NRO, so through the ECG, the Engineering Coordination Group. And we have some discussion with ICANN recently about the IANA oversight transition, the ASO presence at ICANN meeting, and how we can make the ASO more visible, or activities more visible within the ICANN ecosystem, ICANN forum. That's it for the NRO. But I think the main thing to retain from this presentation is that the NRO is the ASO, but the global policy side is still left within the ASO AC, and the NRO work on everything that is related to collaboration and coordination among the 5 areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Do you have questions?
my name is Abdeljalil Bachar from Chad. Donc, my education will be in French. Donc,
What relation and similarity between NRO, ASO, RIR, and what is their contribution towards the contribution for IANA?
Thank you again. Two things I want to mention. The first is in regards to the MOU between NRO and ICANN. AFRINIC is 10 years now, and I think we are matured enough to be officially, if you say, part of the signatory of that MOU. Is there any intention to review that? Because the last time the MOU was signed was in 2004, and it does not reflect AFRINIC at that point in time. Although I understand the reason behind that. Also, I think some of the text of the MOU may need to be reviewed. Some of them are actually related to ensure that the views of just one IIR does not actually affect the decision-making process. So is there any intention of the NROEC to actually look into this, especially now that we are doing the IANA transition? Could be an opportunity to make these reviews. And just for the record, I think some of the suggestions I also made formally in my proposal for the IANA transition. My second comment is in relation to the budget. So NRO has 400K, well, it sounds like it's small money, but it's huge. Is there anywhere on the NRO website, does NRO actually do any financial reports of some sort to understand how the funds is being utilized annually? And what are they used for? In summary, you don't need to say the details. Thank you.
Okay, I will try to answer the question. The first question from my friend from Chad was about what is the difference between the NRO, the ASO, and the RIR. I think the NRO is the ASO. We understand that. The NRO is the ISO. And the way you just understand that is when you say ASO, we are talking within the framework of ICANN. But when you are talking about the NRO, you are talking about the RIR together, but outside of the framework of ICANN. It is a vehicle that allows us to cooperate together, but the two are the same. It is the RIR, and one is clearly defined within the bylaw of ICANN, which is the ASO. So that is clarified through the MOU that we have with ICANN to say we are the ASO, and we are going to do everything related to the ASO, give us the responsibility of the ASO, right? So that is the RIR form, now the NRO, right? Coming back to the question from Sheung, yes, in fact, the ASO MOU was signed before AFRINIC was created. However, when AFRINIC has been created, we have signed an MOU to join the NRO. That has been a formal ceremony that happened after AFRINIC was created, which automatically make us part of that MOU because the MOU is for the NRO. So probably if there will be a revision for that MOU at some point of time, of course, naturally, AFRINIC will be a signatory of the MOU. On the revision of the term of the MOU itself, that could be the result of the consultation we are going through now for the IANA transition. Suggestion may come up to revisit that MOU to add few things like you have suggested, for instance, but we cannot know until we have gone through the whole process and have our proposal in hand to be submitted to the ICG. So we will know what the revision, if revision need to be after the process. On the budget, on the slide that I show, I think I mentioned what make the budget of the NRO. Travel of the ASO, all the cost of the ASO-AC is covered by the NRO globally. We have the cost of the outreach, communication, and everything we do when we have booth at events, when we send our communication CCG people to events to represent the NRO, all the fact sheet, all the publication that we do are covered by that budget. And we have now a full staff member that is paid by the NRO. So the budget is made of those kind of things. The retreat we are having, for instance, is covered by the budgets that I'm talking about. And on top of that, we have the contribution to the ICANN budget. I think that's the second question, right? Did I answer all your question? Yeah. Oh, okay. The budget is not published online, if I'm not mistaken. At this point, it is something that is managed between the 5 areas together. At this point, yes, it's not published.
Thank you, Adiel. Just to remind you that the person from Chad is a fellow of AFRINIC. So if you need any information, just ask the newcomers team. We are here for you. Round of applause for the panel. We are going to break for coffee. And please, we are just overlapping schedule. Just come back at 11 because policy discussion is coming, and this is why we are here today. Thank you.